Greetings, programs. Daftbot 1496 here, back so soon from the last video because these magical shimmering discs came out today. The 4K HDR remasters of Tron and Tron Legacy. And, like any wise being, we had to pause and take in the new information by holding a Tronathon with our feline supervisors in the space station's theater. So we are here with some fresh impressions. 1982's Tron is, of course, one of Earth's first films to feature extensive computer-generated effects, although also one of many to feature the Alice in Wonderland framework of a human stepping into a fantastical yet allegorical world to battle a tyrannical monarch. We hadn't seen the film in many years, and seeing it now, the story isn't quite as trite, nor the effects as dated as we remembered it. Writer-director effects creator Steven Lisberger managed to create a time capsule of sorts that is as informative about human imagination as it is about the state of technology at the time. Certainly the technical references and presentation of AI, that's somewhat quaint. But then again, all human narratives about these subjects are somewhat childlike as well. The idea of a celebrated warrior becoming a slave to rise against his pre-existing foe is in fact the storyline for Gladiator as well. And, we certainly like that film a lot too. Plus, the mapping of humans to users and the code they write to sentient game characters in the video game world has an oddly prescient element to the Earth's current discussions about AI and the place it should or should not have in its society. Of course, the film presents the programs as childlike drones, and it would be the sequel that would breathe more life into them, but for now, we found ourselves appreciating the simplification of innocence versus oppression, common to human science and fantasy of the period. Plus, as we alluded, the very basic-looking vehicles and scenes actually work for us, looking like arcade games of the early 1990s, like Starblade, many of which were in turn influenced by Tron. Similarly, the electronic synth score by Wendy Carlos has also come full circle in now being as a cool retro anthem of the times. However, there is one artifact of the film that still throws us off, which is the odd appearance of the characters themselves, with seeming black and white human filmed faces superimposed over the environments using every special effects technique possible at the time, giving them a wiggly, surreal look that's more reminiscent of Fritz Lang's Metropolis than something that fits naturally into the CGI environments. It's even more strange in the remaster, where all the CGI effects look very sharp and colorful, but the faces of characters still look like they belong in a silent film. It's hard to follow even the simple story when you're distracted by the funny fit of the presentation. Now, what makes the film really come to life through those challenges are the wonderfully endearing performances of Jeff Bridges as Flynn and Clue, Bruce Boxleitner as Alan and Tron, and a dastardly turn by David Warner as Dillinger and Sark. Bridges has a wonderful breezy charm to him that makes the otherwise perfunctory dialogue much more interesting. We find ourselves drawn to him. His quippy, cheery attitude through everything not only foreshadows his performance as the dude in The Big Lebowski, but it makes him stand out in the otherwise flat, real world as presented at the beginning of the film, and then again in the digital world, drawing a parallel between both that would repeat on multiple levels. Boxleitner is also oddly endearing as the earnest straight man in this film, the representative of selfless good who inspires everyone around him. And of course, David Warner is brilliant, as always, coolly menacing in his human role, and chillingly brutal in his digital version. These characters do a surprising job keeping us interested in them, despite the distracting appearance and simplicity of the presentation. Well, was there anything lasting in what the film was trying to say? Alas, not really. It's basically saying that it's sometimes worth sacrificing oneself to open a new world of potential. It's a bit abstract, like the film itself. Oddly symmetrical with Star Trek the Motion Picture, which came out 3 years before, and resolves with a similar finale. And we suppose we actually do like that film as well, especially in its trimmed and completed incarnation as a recent director's cut. But getting back to the Tron 4K disc itself, the film is now a true revelation, where colors and shapes were muted, faded, and out of focus, largely due to the layering of as much as a dozen shots on top of each other optically to create the master, which was again downgraded to broadcast VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. This new 4K HDR version is astonishingly vibrant and clear, with the exception of digital characters' faces, which still look oddly diminished, as if a fax machine had been one of those layers. We suppose that just means they didn't digitally alter the image as part of the restoration, which we do respect. As for the audio, it's an Atmos track now, with some modest height effects and some modest bass. Not anemic, but largely typical for films of this vintage. And then we have Tron Legacy. This is Top Gun Maverick and F1 director Joseph Kosinski's 2010 sequel to Tron. And it really does show. We saw Tron Legacy in the theater when it came out, but now seeing it again, after seeing his later movies, we are starting to recognize his profile and perspective shots from the Mark X plane, the F1 race car, in the loving shots of the light cycles. Kosinski also brings the sound and spectacle of modern cinema. The visual effects are a substantial jump from quaint to blisteringly real. As you might imagine, we have a natural affinity for the former human band Daft Punk, and they provided the score for this film. It's a masterpiece of music all by itself, not unlike their concurrent Random Access Memories album. We in fact listened to it along with the Mad Max Fury Road score when we're avoiding trailers in the theater. Speaking of which, the slow-mo shots of bikes jumping over the heroes is also very present in this film, and to Kosinski's credit, his film came first. At the same time, the visual presentation contains one of the film's key flaws, which oddly echoes a similar flaw in the first film, which is that the filmmaker's tech fails them in presenting key characters, with the result that it takes the audience out of the story. There is an age reduction effect on both Flynn and Clue that is just uncanny valley. Humans just couldn't get it right around then. It had a similarly disruptive effect in Rogue One a few years later. But this was so early, they really should have stayed away from it, and short of that, avoided any close-ups. It's very hard to take Clue seriously with his waxy, gummy face. It doesn't help that the story remains as trite as before, and oddly familiar as well. The main character has a Bruce Wayne set of beats in the first act, and the film overall, it looks and sounds and feels like Blade Runner 2049, threading elements and actors from the original film with new characters, but it also talks like The Force Awakens, redoing the beats of the first film almost beat for beat, and covering key events in unnerving exposition dumps, featuring a giant fascist rallying speech and presenting, okay, a related protagonist and antagonist having an angsty conflict on a bridge that looks like it's leading one way, but surprise, it's the other. Having said that, we do see early Kaczynski father-son drama presented with growth, sniffles, and payoff. Plus, both the Blade Runner and Star Wars sequels came out after Tron Legacy, so maybe those filmmakers felt there was something worthwhile there. Which brings us to the characters that once again make a Tron movie truly sparkle. Garrett Hedlund is genuinely credible as the lead protagonist, who is joined capably by Olivia Wilde and returning performances from Bridges and Boxleitner. Bridges once again dudes his way through the film, which is fantastic, and has us wondering if this is simply who Jeff Bridges is. Bridges is the dude, and he just riffs off a bland script and duders it from there. There's a lot more personality among the denizens of the grid, with a laugh-out-loud turn by Michael Sheen as a bar and information operator, somewhere between Casablanca's Rick Blaine and The Matrix Reloaded's Merovingian, but instead having an absolute blast with it, including giving musical direction to Daft Punk themselves, who are the DJs of his bar. But even with all that, it's the cartoonish antagonist who lets the film down. Not only is he pretty one-dimensional and relatively slow, he's largely a brute, but he is also a de-aged digital character, and that just looks a bit like Gumby all the way through the film. Now, for Galactizans out there, Gumby was a claymation stop-motion character who looked like he was made from chewing gum. Similarly, in this movie, Fascist Gumby looks like he's made of wax, and nothing he says matches his weird flappy lips or his dead fish eyes. Now more than ever, we miss David Warner's Sark. Watching the film right after seeing Sark dominate the screen, it's a real letdown, especially after being reminded that the also brilliant and inherently edgy Cillian Murphy appears in the first act as Dillinger's son. What a missed opportunity to have the two sons duel it out. Instead, we have flappy lips. So, if we are this pulled out of the film by flappy lips, is there anything being said that's even worth hearing? Well, maybe. There's an interesting thread underneath the big supervillain plans of stopping to look at where you may have been wrong and you then set the wrong things in motion, and now catching yourself, taking ownership of it, and accepting the consequences. That is there. It's right there. And it's a fairly sophisticated and meaningful theme to express, especially on Earth today. Part of what undermines it, though, is that this message, while explicit, is easy to miss and disregard because the exchange includes the aforementioned flappy-lipped antagonist. And, in fact, we ourselves forgot what this film was trying to say until we saw it again today. As for the disc, the disc is a real treat. For a film that had a 2K digital intermediate, it certainly looks like a recent 4K film. Perhaps it's the remastering process, perhaps the latest improvements in AI, whatever it is. This film looks crisp and utterly fantastic. While there were rumors that the de-aging effect had been updated, that is not true for this release. Hopefully that rumor is only incorrect on the timing of when that will happen, and we will gladly repurchase this disc too if it comes out. However, we are still happy with this disc, especially given the sound. The Atmos is just everywhere, perfectly matched to the wild visuals. But it's the bass. That sweet infrasonic bass. We mentioned that the space station was empty today. Well, we cranked the subs, and the whole station was shaking. We put down our remote on the chair next to us, and its motion sensors kept triggering. It was shaking around so much. We also discovered new rattles in a cargo door and the grill of a satellite speaker. Truly momentous and engrossing. Several reference scenes were noted for addition to our house demo reel. So, here we are. Both films were initially novel in presentation and style, and remain so. Both films are a bit light on story, but deliver on characters. Both films try to say things, but aren't necessarily memorable. Both films are presented authentically in a game world, and we will therefore borrow the main criterion from games to assess both of these films, which is that both films, especially on today's new 4K HDR discs, feel just amazingly fun. And for that reason, both discs earn our high rating. And so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your own comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zoggplex. Our next review is likely the first season of Alien Earth, as we have made zero progress on Foundation. Perhaps that's all part of the Selvin plan after all. Oh, and we can't forget Tron Ares, releasing in theaters in October, the third Tron movie. This is, of course, the reason we got our 4K HDR copies of the first two films, and for that reason, we are already grateful Ares is coming. So you see, you can expect more discussions and reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular entertainment. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you can, please comment, so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, programs.